Chapter 36. In front of the Yao family. Chen Xiang returned just before dawn. During the day, he madly refined dance, while during night, he went to the outskirts of the city to cultivate. 20 days of the cycle continued. Now, not only had his cultivation enhanced by a lot, he also became very skillful in refining middle-grade mortal level dance and below, with almost no chance of failure. The time required for the entire alchemy process was also shortened by a large amount. It was to the point that even the old alchemist Chen Luzong felt completely embarrassed of his own inferiority. 70 to 80% of the money acquired from selling the 1,000-year-old blood spirit grass had already been spent. Chen Xiang and Chen Luzong had refined many commonly used low-grade mortal level dance, but it was still far from enough. Of course, the metal spirit tree planted by Chen Xiang was also about to bear fruits. In these past 20 days, he had been constantly producing dragon saliva and accelerating its growth. This was the first time he had stimulated the growth of a single type of spirit herb for such a long time, but it would definitely be worth it. The metal spirit tree was his confidential secret, which was why he had planted it in his own private courtyard. Even Chen Luzong wasn't allowed to casually enter Chen Xiang's small courtyard. As long as we hire enough alchemists, I can be carefree and gain some breathing room. Chen Xiang was stroking a small golden fruit, which was burst out from the tree this very morning after he nourished it with the dragon saliva. Chen Xiang hadn't ever thought of just refining and selling dans all day. He aspired to do much grander things, such as finding precious spirit herbs, killing demon beasts, acquiring and practicing suitable martial techniques, or even just to explore this vast world. At this moment, the King City's martial arts tournament was only a month away and Chen Xiang went to sign up for it. However, what made him depressed was the fact that the King City's martial arts tournament was unexpectedly hosted by the Yao family, and due to this, the registration venue was inside the Yao family area. Chen Xiang had been lodging in King City for quite some time now, and had already heard people discussing about the missing Yao Dianhua and the Yao family elder. But fortunately for Chen Xiang, there were a few wicked organizations of formidable martial artists, organizations that frequently wrought havoc outside King City. They looted and killed many of King City's children from aristocrat families, so Chen Xiang was never suspected of the deed. That being said, the whole Yao family was furious as their Yao family genius and an elder had gone missing. They denounced those evil forces with the help of the imperial family, along with many other families with whom they had good relations with. In just a few days, many of the evil forces had been punished or completely destroyed, yet despite all this, the Yao family wasn't able to find any clue to the whereabouts of Yao Dianhua. In reality, Yao Dianhua and the Yao family elder had long been killed by Chen Xiang, their bodies incinerated until only ashes remained. The Yao family finding out what happened was the least of Chen Xiang's worries. Currently, Chen Xiang had just arrived at the Yao family residence, which to no surprise, was very large. In his heart, Chen Xiang was slightly in awe from just seeing the entrance, let alone inside. The competition, as well as registrations, was being held in the huge field in front of the Yao family entrance. Although registrations had started early, a vast majority of people were still coming every day to register. The whole field was very lively. Many long queues stretched out like a dragon. Chen Xiang had lined up quite a while ago, and now, he finally stood in front of the registration table. The young, 20 or so, man responsible for registrations yawned and picked up his pen and paper. He lazily asked, "Name?" Chen Xiang. The young man was originally listless, but after hearing these two words, he became wide awake while carefully sizing up Chen Xiang. Everyone around them also looked over. Chen Xiang's name was well known to everyone here. Not only was he capable of refining the baptizing marrow dan, but his strength was known to be comparable to someone in the 7th level of the mortal marital realm. He had wounded the Yao family elder, beat up the governor's son, and gained the favor of the manor lord of Dangxiang Rival Manor, who was considered the most beautiful woman in the city. These were only some of his more notable deeds. Chen Xiang was also a genius-level figure comparable to Yao Dianhua. As long as one walked around the city before, they would have surely heard of his name. However, the Yao family thought of him as nothing but a thorn in their eyes. Every single Yao family member pretty much hated him. For them, Chen Xiang injuring the Yao family elder and Yao Dianhua was the only reason they had gone missing. If not for the Yao family elder's injuries, there was no way they could possibly have been in any kind of danger. Go over there and take the strength test. Only after passing the test will you be able to participate in the martial arts tournament. That young man pointed to another row. Before coming here, Chen Xiang had heard that they tested your strength before successful registration. Those who were not able to pass the test would be unable to participate. After the young man placed a seal on a paper, Chen Xiang took the paper and headed towards the other row. Chen Xiang was actually this close to them. Just thinking about this, many people were extremely excited. An alchemist, as well as the grandson of the famous Chen family patriarch. He had a limitless future, which made many people take initiative to chat with him. To pass some time, Chen Xiang was also happy to chat with the other family juniors. While many of the family juniors tried to get on his good side to get the Chen family support for their families, some feared offending the Yao family and were afraid to form an alliance with the Chen family. However, these family juniors came to learn from Chen Xiang that Chen family also had a dance shop, so they would be less wary of the threat posed by the Yao family. Unknowingly, time passed by quickly and it was now Chen Xiang's turn. The method to test one's strength was simple. You just had to strike a strange boulder. Originally, this boulder was black, but if one's power was strong enough, they would be able to change its color. Chen Xiang was standing in front of the boulder, which was taller than him. The person in charge of the testing site announced, "As long as you are able to turn this boulder's color to yellow, you will pass this test." According to the force exerted, the boulder would change its color from black to red, orange, yellow, green, azure, blue, or purple, with purple being the highest amount of force it could measure. Since standing in line, Chen Xiang had seen many people change the boulder's color to red, sometimes even orange, but no one was still able to change its color to yellow. I heard that during the Crown Prince's test, the stone turned blue. Ah, truly unfathomable strength. Oh, I also heard that one of the Yao family's juniors was very formidable and also turned the stone blue. Ha! Just that, the great General Leng's daughter was able to change it to purple. Chen Xiang suddenly heard many people discussing about the strength of some notable figures. At this time, everyone seemed to be watching him with rapt attention, awaiting his results. Everyone wanted to take a look at Chen Xiang and see if his strength was truly as mighty as they heard, or if it was just a baseless rumor. Many of those present had never seen Chen Xiang's strength. Chen Xiang rubbed his fists as he stared at the boulder. The Chen family also had this sort of boulder, albeit a little smaller than this. It was still equally good for determining power. It was very painful to hit it. In fact, Chen Xiang had tried this test a long time ago at home. However, at that time he was barely able to turn the stone's hue into a faint red, denoting his former power to be weak. However, things had changed and now Chen Xiang had reached the 6th level of the mortal martial realm. He was very eager to test out his strength. After some preparation, Chen Xiang slightly inhaled. He operated the Vermilion Bird and Azure Dragon True Key within his dantian and integrated them together. As the two True Keys fused together and surged into his arms, his sleeves suddenly turned into ash, revealing blue veins on his stout arm. At this time, everyone around the testing site had turned quiet. The people closer to Chen Xiang were even able to sense his frightening amount of True Key. After the sudden show of explosive might, the crowd was in awe. At this moment, nobody doubted that Chen Xiang had injured the Yao family elder. The entire crowd was panic-stricken just from the mighty pressure released by Chen Xiang's True Key. In one go, the dual-attributed True Key surged into Chen Xiang's arm. Tightening his fist, he punched out. Violent and fast as lightning, his fist ruthlessly slammed onto the boulder. Bang! That boulder suddenly shattered into many pieces and scattered on the ground. Soot flew everywhere following outburst of True Key. Chapter 37, Generous Remuneration. Edited by Cloud Goat. Everyone stared blankly. Originally they thought that the stone would just turn purple, but now Chen Xiang's fists blasted it into smithereens. Not even this strength measuring stone was able to bear his violent power. Before there were those who turned the strength measuring stone into either blue or purple, and they were already considered leaders of the younger generation. But now Chen Xiang smashed the strength measuring stone. Obviously Chen Xiang's strength had already surpassed those people. Chen Xiang was shocked with his own result, but now since he has broken this strength measuring stone, he feared that the Yao family would ask for compensation. Did I pass? I did not intend to smash it. I just wanted to use the strongest power for the test. I did not expect my luck to be this good, and suddenly smash it. Chen Xiang, scratching his head, grinned. Everyone was looking at him with contempt. Smashing the stone with luck. Only an idiot would believe that bullshit. Passed. The person in charge thought if this is not considered a pass, then no one will be able to pass. An additional stamp was added to his sheet, allowing him to participate in the King City martial art tournament. Chen Xiang let out a deep breath. Apparently the Yao family was not going to ask compensation for the strength measuring stone. Certainly, this was not Chen Xiang's entire strength, as he was only using fire and wood attribute key, and the other 3 attribute true keys still haven't been used. If all 5 attribute true key has been fused, it would have been even more powerful. He had been practicing for many days just to perfect the fusion between fire and wood attribute key, complementing one another, and turning into a more powerful true key. It was also one of the main reasons for Chen Xiang to be a difficult opponent among the same level. Chen Xiang immediately started refining pills just after returning from the registration. Even at this age, the pills refined by him were better than many of old alchemists. This is what Chen Luzong said. In the past few days he had learned a lot of alchemy skills and experiences from Su Meiyao, and shared them with Chen Luzong. Chen Luzong had also benefited a lot from them, but Chen Luzong thought that they were Chen Xiang's own perception, so he admired his nephew more and more. 10 days passed quickly. In the small courtyard of his, 6 fist-sized golden fruit were shining. As the sunlight shone on them, a very attractive golden glow was glittering. Near them one could feel the intense spirit key emitted by the metal spirit fruit. This is a profound level high-grade spirit fruit. I wonder what its taste like. Chen Xiang forcefully swallowed his own saliva. If those old alchemists came to know about his idea, he would be immediately beaten to pulp. Eating a metal spirit fruit was simply throwing it away. Chen Xiang cautiously picked up 6 shining golden metal spirit fruit, and after placing them inside a storage pouch, left the store in a hurry and arrived at a place nearby Dangxiang River Manor, which was completely focused on seeking alchemists to help in alchemy. He had already prepared a notice to affix Chen family Dan King Ho, recruiting 3 alchemists capable of refining mortal level high-grade pills, remuneration metal spirit fruit. Above he also wrote his name and address. Although he had 6 metal spirit fruit, he was going to leave some for his own use. After all, this metal spirit fruit is also very useful in refining building foundation. Dan Chen Xiang returned to store and patiently waited. He knew many alchemists will soon be attracted by the reward and come here. After all, a metal spirit fruit is a priceless profound level high-grade spirit fruit. Every alchemist desired them. Soon he will be able to attract many alchemists. Chen Xiang did not have to wait for long. Someone immediately came and asked for him. To his surprise, it was not an alchemist but someone he is already acquainted with, Dangxiang River Manor Lord Huiyuan. Chen Luzong was also quite confused. He did not know anything about Chen Xiang using metal spirit fruit for hiring alchemists, otherwise he would already been jumping around. Huiyuan got down from the horse carriage, and directly rushed into the store. At this moment she did not conceal her face with a veil, seemingly elegant and noble in her snow-white dress. Chen Xiang immediately asked after noticing the resentment on her beautiful and elegant face, "Manor Lord Hua, what happened?" "Humph." With a low snort, Huiyuan asked with a serious face, "Did you really use metal spirit fruit as remuneration for recruiting alchemists?" Chen Luzong surprised for a moment, then quickly took a glance at Chen Xiang. "What's the problem? Is it not allowed?" Watching Chen Xiang nodding his head and spreading his hands as he spoke, Chen Luzong was stunned and uttered a shriek. Immediately after he shouted, "You brat, you actually have metal spirit fruit, and you're using it for remunerating alchemists. Are you crazy?" One can only come across metal spirit fruit serendipitously. They are very rare. Ordinarily people who have metal spirit fruit will only use it for themselves, while just selling its peel and the seed. Cough cough. Chen Xiang placed 2 shining golden fruit on the table. Suddenly bizarre spirit key drifts out from them, which even made Chen Luzong and Huiyuan scared. They didn't expect for Chen Xiang to have 2 of them. Chen Luzong was left speechless. Huiyuan took a deep breath. After all, she was from a big sect, and already had seen the world, but it was still inconceivable for her to see Chen Xiang at such a young age, to actually have such a treasure. Thousand vein fruit, hell spirit grass, 1000-year beast dan, and now metal spirit fruit, all of them were very precious and acquired by him. At this moment, Chen Xiang came up with 1 more metal spirit fruit. Both of them shuddered once again. Chen Xiang just chuckled and said, "Granduncle, I know you like to remain hidden. Thus I give these 3 metal spirit fruit to you for safekeeping. 1 is for your own use, while the other 2 for remuneration for recruiting alchemists. At the time when these alchemists come, they will all be reviewed by you." Huiyuan, looking at the 3 shining golden fruits on the table, nibbled her tender lips, an indescribable complexion visible on her face. In her opinion, Chen Xiang was a rare seedling of alchemy. and truly had a great chance in advancing to the true martial realm, but she just wasn't able to entice Chen Xiang in joining Dang Xiang Taiyuan. Chen Luzong's hands were trembling as he carefully received the metal spirit fruits. After forcefully restraining his excited heart, said, "You brat, where did you get them?" Chen Xiang randomly said, "Last night, while practicing in mountains I came across a hidden place. The whole tree I moved it back." Metal spirit tree normally will bear 5 fruits. It seems you are now quite rich. Hua Yuyan's pair of enchanting myriads eyes gently winked at Chen Xiang, indescribably charming. Chen Xiang tilted his head, avoiding her charming gaze, asked, "Matter Lord Hua, what did you come here for?" "Humph, I wanted to see whether you truly had metal spirit fruit. But this approach of yours is too high profile, it will be very troublesome. Previously the Yao family didn't pay an ounce of attention to your Chen family Dan King Ho. But as of now they will not allow you to open your shop smoothly as you are now using metal spirit fruit to draw in alchemists. Who dares to stop us? I'll kill them." Chen Luzong roared out in a majestic voice. He just received a metal spirit fruit. Given some time, he will be able to refine it into a pill, and thus breaking through his current bottleneck will be easy as pie. Chapter 38, Dan King. Edited by Cloud Goat. Young Master Chen, you must reconsider my previous invitation. That is but one good opportunity, and you must carefully reconsider. A sliver of pleading intention was present in Hua Yuyan's clear and pretty eyes. Hua Yuyan departed. Chen Luzong gave a bizarre look to Chen Xiang, then asked in a low voice, "Brat, that woman is also the Dangxiang Manor Hall's manager, but in front of you she didn't have an ounce of arrogance. Where did she invite you?" "TLN. I will be using manager instead of hall lord. She invited me to enter Dangxiang Taiyuan, but as I am more interested in entering the extreme martial sect, so I declined." "What?" Chen Luzong stared blankly for a moment, immediately after knocked on Chen Xiang's head. "Dangxiang Taiyuan is holy land for all alchemists and you brat actually declined." Chen Xiang caressed his head, curling his mouth, said, "Granduncle, this woman is just a maidservant. She had fooled many other people in joining Dangxiang Taiyuan, and I will not do such stupid things. Enrolling into a sect is a very important matter, and I want to enroll in a sect which I admire. Once one becomes a sect's disciple, it would be very hard to leave, unless banished by the sect itself, and once banished no other sect will take them in." So Chen Xiang wanted to carefully consider the sect he choose. Chen Xiang had Su Meiyao to teach him alchemy. There was also the dragon saliva exercise for maturing spirit herbs. He simply did not have any desire to enter Dangxiang Taiyuan, thus he wanted to enter extreme martial sect which has a very strong heritage. Not long before 2 alchemists showed up at the door, Chen Luzong was mainly responsible for screening. Primarily alchemists first wanted to take a glance at the metal spirit fruit, so Chen Luzong proudly took out the metal spirit fruit before them. Watching these alchemists looking at it with envy made Chen Luzong very happy in his heart. Chen Luzong first let them refine pills on their own, afterwards he made them refine mortal level middle grade pill. By observing the pill quality and time of the alchemy process, he identifies the level of these alchemists. What made Chen Luzong depressed was that, in just one day, although there were tens of people applying, but only 2 or 3 could be regarded as alchemists. Moreover, many even failed to meet the standards. There were even some guys who intended to fish in troubled waters. TLN, Chinese idiom, equals fish in troubled waters, meaning, trying to make profit in a dangerous situation. Chen Xiang was not anxious, as many alchemists often secluded themselves for alchemy, and thus yet have to receive the information. So he speculated in the next few days, there will be many alchemists affiliated to several forces of King City applying. Chen Xiang only planned on recruiting 4 good alchemists. 2 metal spirit fruit is more than enough to make 4 alchemists stay here for some time, and by that time Dan King Ho will be strong and prosperous, and will not be afraid of being unable to recruit any alchemists. Like previously, Chen Xiang returned to his original routine, going to the outskirts to practice at night and returning early for refining pills at Dan King Ho. 3 days went by since posting the notice. Chen Xiang returned from the mountains outside the city, saw early in the morning, some grey white-haired old men standing around Dan King Hall entrance. At this time the sky had just lit up. Dan King Hall has yet to open, so these candidates for the alchemist position can only patiently wait. On ordinary days these alchemists were always aloof. They will not bat an eye even if many spirit coins were placed in front of them. but they regard these rare and precious spirit herbs as a treasure, as no amount of spirit coins can buy them. Chen Xiang was the one who came up with the name of the store in King Hall. As long they had a sufficient amount of pills they will be able to open. Because Chen Luzong had enough qualification to be called an old alchemist, the other alchemists were more than happy to join to Dan King Hall. As the doors opened, tens of alchemists one after another hastily greeted Chen Luzong. From the small amount of heat in the breath of these alchemists, Chen Xiang roughly estimated their levels in alchemy, except for two. Others truly were not pure enough and were only able to refine low-grade Dan. Many of these half-baked alchemists were only here to try their luck, as they all knew the qualification required would certainly be high. After they entered Dan King Hall, Chen Xiang also tagged along with them. At this point, one blonde wrinkled old man walked in. He shouted as soon as he entered, "Steward, get the fuck out!" When the old man yelled, pure fire ki burst out from his body, shocking the tens of alchemists. Because each one of them desired for this level of fire ki, they were very confident that this blonde old man was definitely an alchemist, also a very famous one at that, but alchemists rarely make an appearance, thus they were widely known only by their name. Chen Xiang stood out and responded, "I am the steward here, what do you want with me?" Everyone knew Dan King Hall was the Chen family property, and the person in charge was Chen Xiang. The blonde old man spotted Chen Xiang, on his face suddenly revealed a look of contempt. His whole face full of arrogance, said, "I want you to immediately change the name of your store. You are not allowed to use the name Dan King Hall, because you do not deserve it." Chen slightly squinted his eyes. "Why? I chose this name, and in any way is not hampering you. If you are here to cause trouble, then do not blame me for being impolite." That blonde old man contemptuously looked at Chen Xiang and sneered, "This old man is Dan King, so I will not allow you to use this brother's name for your store." TLN. Well, basically he used G, rather, sometimes refer themselves as G to show their superiority. Dan King. After they heard these two words, Chen Luzong and those alchemist candidates were immediately shocked. In the whole southern martial empire, high and low, there were tens of millions of people, only had one alchemist with a very brilliant alchemy technique, called Dan King. Moreover, he had dealings with the Yao family. At this point everyone were able to determine, this proud old man is the Southern Martial Empire's Dan King Mengbo. Chen Xiang was no stranger to this name. Since childhood he had often heard this name, and now unexpectedly able to see this person, he quickly determined that the Dan King is certainly sent by the Yao family to make trouble. Chen Xiang frowned. This was indeed somewhat troublesome. He named Dan King Hall because he wanted the store name to be somewhat domineering. He really did not expect the actual Dan King would walk in to smash the signboard. "Humph, relying on this guy," declaimed Dan King. "I have been doing alchemy for thousands of years, and just barely able to achieve Dan Founder rank, let alone Dan King, which is even superior to Dan Founder." Su Meiyao's contemptuous voice sounded in Chen Xiang's mind. Chen Xiang was slightly surprised in his heart. At this time he came to know that originally that name was designated for an alchemist's level. His eyes lit up, ridiculing Mengbo, said, "Humph, you dare claim to be a Dan King? Do you have the ability to go to those big sects and show off? You think others will not scold you?" This not knowing of immensity of heaven and earth old man. Speaking of big sects, other alchemists were also longing to know about how formidable the alchemists inside those big sects. In front of those alchemists, Mengbo obviously did not dare to claim to be a Dan King. He can only show off as such in this mortal world country. Mengbo's face turned red with anger. He had not thought Chen Xiang the little devil would dare to humiliate him, moreover in front of others. But what he said he also could not refute. He knew he cannot compare to those alchemists in big sects, and if he went there he can only be one little messenger. Chen Xiang saw Mengbo's old face turn red with anger, said, "Since you think your own alchemy technique is brilliant, then how about a little competition with this brat, and these alchemists can be the judge. Since this is a competition, of course we should add a prize. If I lose, I'll give you the metal spirit fruit, and if you lose..." Chapter 39, Respect. Edited by Cloud Goat. Chen Xiang and the Southern Martial Empire's Dan King were going to compete in alchemy. Tens of alchemists were surprised so much that their jaws were touching the ground. Chen Luzong knew Chen Xiang's talent was very high regarding alchemy, but to challenge a Dan King, he was still too tender. However, the reward offered by Chen Xiang was too enticing. In the mortal world the spirit ki was relatively thin, resulting in spirit herbs to be very rare. so alchemists in the mortal world cannot resist the temptation of such a rare and precious spirit herb. Mengbo looked upward and burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, such being the case, this old man will accompany you. If I lose, I'll give you my Profound Yang alchemic furnace. Profound Yang alchemic furnace. That is but one famous furnace. It is said to be made up of precious Profound Yang stone. It was said there was a mystical force inside the furnace, which is also the reason for Mengbo to have such great achievements in alchemy. These alchemist gazes were full of envy as Mengbo took out a fiery red alchemic furnace. This alchemic furnace was small and exquisite, seemingly like a carved-out red gem. There were many fine patterns on the outside, and one could tell it was by no means refined out by someone from mortal world. If we are competing in Dan rank, then I will absolutely lose. To be fair, the most I can refine is a high-grade pill, or a key Dan. This was the only way he had any chance of winning. At present he was only able to refine high-grade pills. Or a key Dan provided a great help to 6th level of Mortal Martial Realm practitioner, as 7th level of Mortal Martial Realm was Truer Realm, and at this state one is able to transform Yuki into Aura after taking Aura Key Dan. It helps 6th level of Mortal Martial Realm martial artists in familiarizing with Aura Key. 7th realm of Mortal Martial Realm martial artists took in energy to strengthen their True Ki, making it much quicker and easier to transform True Ki into Aura, and also strengthen it quickly. No problem, begin now? Mengbo readily agreed down, in his eyes, regardless of how high Chen Xiang's alchemic talent was. After all, he is only a little devil. It was absolutely impossible for him to win. If his refined pill quality was not good as Chen Xiang, then he will also sincerely convinced about his defeat. Start now. Each one is responsible for their own herbs. If you do not have it, then I will wait for you to get some so that you will not fall behind. Chen Xiang said. For more than 1 month, he had been constantly learning to refine other pills. He had also refined the Orchidan several times. Apart from that, after some failures in the beginning, he understood the essentials like the back of his hand, and has yet to fail again. Of course I have the herbs, so let's begin. There are so many alchemists to judge, I think the final result certainly would be very notary. Mengbo said. At present he is unexpectedly excited. He had been very jealous of Chen Xiang for owning the metal spirit fruit, because he owed the Yao family a favor, so he agreed to come here and break the event. To Mengbo's surprise, Chen Xiang was one young aggressive brat. He even proposed a competition with such a large disparity in their strength, and he certainly is not going to miss this opportunity. Chen Luzong and the other alchemists were also very thrilled, because they can personally see how the famous Dan King refined pill, which is but one rare opportunity. Most pill refining methods were similar, but the process of dealing herbs were nothing but different. Moreover, some herbs' nature were very special. When dealing with these kinds of herbs, one has to be very cautious, otherwise it would be a failure, and worst case scenario the furnace would explode. Moreover, herbs would be lost. For low-grade pills it was okay, but failure during high-grade pills, many alchemists were distressed about it for a long time. At this point Chen Xiang and Mengbo simultaneously poured flames into their respective alchemic furnace, producing fire ki inside the furnace, while simultaneously controlling the inside temperature, only then placed the herbs inside. Herbs required for the Orchidan, although somewhat expensive, but it was still profitable to sell in the market. The primary herbs were Yuan spirit mud, earth or grass root, profound spirit ginseng, hellfire grass. Then there were some auxiliary herbs, mainly more than 50-year-old ginseng, spirit grass, shu, earth spirit grass and other common spirit herbs. This Orchidan difficulty lied in processing the Yuan spirit mud and earth or grass root. Yuan spirit mud was a sludge containing spirit ki, and only found in special places. This mud was also capable of self-absorbing the spirit ki, and afterwards refining the spirit ki. This spirit ki was relatively similar to near immortal type aura. It was also quite difficult to bake the Yuan spirit mud into herbal powder and herbal ki, as the magnitude of required flames was extremely high. Earth or grass root is a type of spirit herb grown inside Yuan spirit mud, and the grass roots were present deep inside the Yuan spirit mud. After breeding, it produces earth aura, as this grass root was very easily burned to nothing, and that peculiar aura ki was also very easy to evaporate. Thus it was necessary to use divine sense to control the flames and protect them simultaneously. Chen Xiang in the beginning failed many times because of these two difficulties, but afterwards as he grasped the subtle essentials, he was able to easily refine the orchid dan. At this point Chen Xiang's face was quite relaxed while baking the herbs into herbal powder and herbal spirit key. Only by thorough refining can it actually drive out all the impurities, otherwise it would affect the pill quality. For this requirement Chen Xiang was very strict on himself, so the pills he refines all turned out to be of superior quality. Every time there were subtle changes in the temperature all around, Chen Luzong and those alchemists were able to sense it. From time to time black key also emerged from the alchemic furnace as the herbs' impurities were released, making everyone all feel speechless with admiration, and even Meng Bo was sweating, and his eyebrows were knitted together. In contrast Chen Xiang had a somewhat relaxed look. Obviously, Meng Bo had not refined the orchid dan for quite some time. As long as one was out of practice for some time, they would forget the feeling of subtle type of fire control, and will be difficult to grasp the degree of heat required for each spirit herb. Suddenly, that ruby-like alchemic furnace of Meng Bo slightly shook. 5 or 6 different color spirit key were rising from it. Meng Bo even made a mistake. One Dan King actually failed during the refining of mortal-level middle-grade pill. All alchemists present felt very disappointed, and some even secretly despised this Dan King. Granduncle, give him a set of orchid dan herbs, he will refine anew. He still has time to catch up. Chen Xiang opened his eyes and lightly said. Meng Bo was suddenly stunned. Suddenly a hint of shame flashed through his eyes, only to see Chen Xiang smilingly said, during alchemy because herbs were insufficient, resulting in failure to analyze the deviations. This competition has to be fair as you lack preparation. Meng Bo slightly nodded his head. He knew Chen Xiang was slightly stepping down for him. After all, he is a famous alchemist. This error may very well result in tarnishing his reputation, and he may even not be able to show his face in public. So he was secretly grateful in his heart. At this point he understood Chen Xiang was not supercilious like the rumors had depicted. Whether it was people's skills or subtlety, he was far better than Yao Tianhua, whom he guided several times. Chen Luzong soon brought the herbs. Meng Bo started refining again, but this time he had calmed down, and no longer underestimated Chen Xiang. He actually treated Chen Xiang as an opponent of similar skills. A little time passed, though it had been very quiet. Chen Luzong and the alchemists present knew that within these two alchemic furnace, very complicated process were undergoing. Half an hour passed. Finally it was time to condensate the pill. Chen Xiang was leading, only to see Chen Xiang come up with some sort of green liquid, and dripped it into one of alchemic furnace openings. This liquid was the dragon saliva diluted with water. If added during the time of condensing pills, it helps in improving the quality of the pill. Su Meiyao was the one who told him. Chen Xiang opened his eyes, and slightly implored some key, and at this time Meng Bo wiped his forehead. He was also done. Chapter 40, Fire Dragon Blood Jade. Edited by Cloud Goat. Meng Bo originally came to find fault, but now he was ashamed in his heart. He was grateful about Chen Xiang's previous conduct. Thus he decided even if he won, he would not accept the metal spirit fruit. In an ordinary situation, 3 orchid dan can be refined at once, and for formidable alchemists they can refine 4 pills at once. After Meng Bo opened the lid of Profound Yang alchemic furnace, one could see 4 transparent pills with a trace of light yellow color gradually levitating. 4 orchid dan, worthy of Dan King. Nearby, one alchemist could not help but praise, from the looks of the color and herbal fragrance, the pill quality should be excellent. At this time, it was Chen Xiang's turn, and after Chen Xiang opened his alchemic furnace, he gently blew. As the mist blew away, this time everyone were shocked, astonishment clearly visible on their face. 5 exquisitely carved, flawless pills were visible inside the furnace, but also there was a trace of white glossiness. There was no visible impurities in the orchid dan. As the herbal aroma entered into their nose, no one could believe it. Not only 5 pills, but also of excellent quality. This level is far more than that of Meng Bo. Meng Bo heaved a sigh when he saw Chen Xiang. His eyes were full of respect. Before, he thought Chen Xiang was the same as Yao Tianhua, although somewhat talented, but still proud and arrogant. But now he saw that Chen Xiang refined orchid dan quality was far more superior to his, and could not help but be sincerely convinced. I lost. Meng Bo sighed and said, he was no longer a Dan King full of arrogance, and now he looked much older. After all, this was for him a big blow. Meng Lao, I think you usually don't refine orchid dan. You can still refine the peel with such quality in an unfamiliar situation. As a junior, I'm impressed. So be it. We consider it a tie. I did not win, and you did not lose. Chen Xiang showed a gentle smile. Meng Bo in the entire Southern Martial Empire was the most powerful alchemist. It was better to be friends with him. TLN, Lao means old. It is used when speak to someone who are close to them and much older than them. Meng Bo shook his head, and then took out the rich shining profound yang alchemic furnace and handed it to Chen Xiang. A lost is lost. This alchemic furnace is yours. For many years I have been relying on this alchemic furnace, and had neglected some basic things. It should have a better master than me. Meng Bo's and Chen Xiang's actions made those alchemists present filled with admiration. This made them have a new understanding of them. Chen Xiang spread his hand. Meng Lao, you should join our Dan Kingal, become the chief alchemist of this store. The profound yang furnace is yours, while you still can obtain the metal spirit fruit. Everyone was surprised. Chen Xiang actually wanted to reel in Meng Bo to Dan Kinghao. Chen Luzong's eyes lit up, smiled apologetically and quickly said, this Dan Kinghao needs Meng Lao to take charge. Then only it can be undoubtedly Dan Kinghao. Meng Bo pondered for a moment, said, good, but this alchemic furnace you must accept. You have very solid basics. With the help of this furnace, you will get twice the result with half the effort. Surprisingly Meng Bo complied, but the alchemists present were very unhappy with the presence of one such powerful Dan King. Now they would not be able to fish in troubled waters after entering Dan Kinghao. At this time, one old man said, Manger Chen, this old man does not seek to be alchemist here, only hopes to be a janitor. You also do not need to pay. Seeing the old man, others followed the suit, having expressed their willingness to stay here without a pay, because they can together learn a lot of things from Dan King. While Meng Lao you take responsibility. Chen Xiang scratched his head and laughed. Meng Bo frowned while looking at the dozens of old men, then nodded his head. You can stay behind. Next, Chen Luzong and Meng Bo picked 2 good alchemists from the tens of old men, and gave them the metal spirit fruit as remuneration. After Meng Bo joined, Chen Xiang felt relieved. At least now he does not need to refine pills by himself, which was very tedious for him. Granduncle, you should be the manager. You have been managing Spirit Dan Hall for many years, and is quite experienced regarding this, while Meng Lao and other seniors are simply responsible for alchemy. Although Meng Bo is a Dan King, but perennial goes in seclusion for alchemy, so regarding management had no experience. Meng Bo and the others also had no clue. Chen Luzong also nodded. Now inside Dan King Hall there were 4 relatively good alchemists and a dozen or so ordinary level alchemists. In comparison to the Yao family in Dangxiang Rival Manor, they had many alchemists compared to other forces. At night, Chen Xiang and a group of white shining-haired old men were sitting together, discussing alchemy techniques. Chen Xiang was taught by Su Meiyao. That alchemy technique was very brilliant, combined with his own experience, gave some pointers, making the congregation of alchemists benefit greatly. Everyone admired Chen Xiang. At such a young age, he had comprehended such things which made them exclaim in surprise. Chen Xiang, about this morning affront, please forgive me. The Yao family once gave me some herbs, therefore I owe them a favor, but from now on between me and them it's written off. Meng Bo's face looked ashamed. Chen Xiang smiles, said, the past is the past. The Yao family's hate for me is deeply rooted. After all, I made them lose face. He got 1 good alchemic furnace and 1 excellent alchemist now, and this is all thanks to the Yao family. He was secretly grateful to the Yao family in his heart. Then we have to work hard, because the King City Martial Art Tournament is about to begin. I have to prepare myself. I have to be first and get that true elemental Dan. Chen Xiang's eyes glittered with a confident aura. This time everyone once again got startled. Because they admire Chen Xiang for his alchemy talent, they completely forgot about his strength. Now that they thought about it, Chen Xiang was also one of the strongest martial artists among younger generation. Chen Xiang with his strength remained unscathed against that 7th level of mortal martial realm Yao family elder, and even defeated him. This type of talent was simply monstrous. I will go out and practice. Everybody rest early. Chen Xiang dropped this sentence and walked away. Inside the forest at the outskirts of King City, Chen Xiang, looking at the profound yang alchemic furnace glittering with a fiery red aura, was somewhat excited in his heart. When he touched the furnace, he knew the furnace was extraordinary. Su Meiyao and Bai Yao, the 2 peerless beauty, also came out of the ring, looking at the profound yang furnace won by Chen Xiang. Fire Dragon Blood Jade. Bai Yao could not help but retreat a few steps. On ordinary days this elegant beauty was always cold but now actually feared this profound yang furnace. Su Meiyao's eyes were shining while looking at the alchemic furnace, then bent down, and with her delicate hands caressed it gently, as similar to as caressing a baby. Bai Yao slowly came over, stubbornly staring at profound yang furnace on the ground. Her tender body wrapped in purple dress was actually slightly trembling. It looked as if she was facing an enemy. Yes, indeed it is the fire dragon blood jade. I did not think that you, Red, will get such an extreme treasure. If that half-baked Dan King came to know, he will probably die with grief. Su Meiyao smiled, and her face was full of joy. It was truly enchanting and moving, making people as such they could not wait to take her in their arms with love and affection. Chen Xiang hastily put away the furnace. Although he did not know what the fire dragon blood jade, but he can see that Bai Yao was very afraid of this alchemic furnace. With some guilt, he said, Yao sister, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were afraid of this thing. Bai Yao complexion eased a lot, whispered, it's okay, it's not your fault. Her voice was actually so gentle and enchanting, Chen Xiang could not help but be surprised for a moment. An unspeakable tenderness suddenly surged in his heart, and he felt an inexplicable comfort. Bai Yao saw Chen Xiang's complexion somewhat strange, coldly said, I practice devil exercises and my extreme yin body conflicts with this extreme yang fire dragon blood jade.